Hey, welcome to another 15-minute Friday for first summer edition after the summer solstice has kicked us off into the heat of the summer. And so what we're going to talk about today for the reason of the season is, we're starting to get into a stressful period of the season. We look at kind of the heat map. This was stolen from Syngenta's website, their Greencast Online. They have a great tool that's available looking at soil temperatures across the United States so you can time different pesticide applications. But as a general trend across the United States, we have extremely hot temperatures, especially in the southern United States and the south central United States, up the eastern seaboard. When we get into some of the more northeastern parts of the United States, we do have some unseasonably cool temperatures that are still persisting. But for the majority of the United States, we have extremely hot temperatures that is causing an influx of disease pressure beginning to occur. And so, appropriate for the season, what I wanted to talk about today was some developments that we've had related to Phyte fungicide, or Phyte, now known as Phyte systemic fungicide, and how this material is used. If you used the product in the past, you know that it is a nutritional supplement, so it's a 0030 analysis fertilizer. But through research and development, we've also been able to demonstrate that not only does it have nutritional aspects to it, it also has fungicidal aspects to it as well. And so through that process, through the development process, we have submitted the product to EPA and received a EPA registration for Phyte to label the product as an actual fungicide in addition to its nutrient supplement that we have used it for years in the past. So Phyte is labeled for Pythium control. It's the same formulation as Phyte fertilizer. So one thing that you'll notice, if you can see the small font here on your screen, is that not only do we have the fungicide label, but we also maintained the 0030 analysis on the label, so it still can continue to be used as a fertilizer. In terms of phosphate formulations, it's one of the most concentrated phosphates that you can find at 4.71 pounds of phosphorus acid per gallon. And we say Phyte, phosphate, but really the active ingredient, the active component of the formulation is phosphorus acid. So that's always what you want to look for when you're comparing between products, is how much phosphorus acid does a product have in a specific formulation. And so in this case, very concentrated formulation, 4.71 pounds per gallon. And something that's unique about phosphates as a class of products is that these are the only fully systemic fungicides that are out there. A lot of products are local penetrants or acropital penetrants, meaning that they're absorbed into the plant and then they move vertically into the plant. Whereas a product like Phyte, potassium phosphate, will actually move upwards and downwards within the plant, giving full systemic mobility and enhancing disease control in that way. So very unique chemistry in that sense. But how do these products actually work? It's really a couple of different ways, and this is a image that was borrowed from a Penn State Extension article published online and looked at the effects of potassium phosphate versus the effect of potassium phosphate. And so when you think about phosphate, what's the difference there? And really all it is, when you look at the chemical structure of the two molecules, is that phosphates have one less oxygen than phosphates. However, that's a very important oxygen. That oxygen is the difference between being a fungicide and being a nutritional supplement. So in the case of the images that you're looking at here, on the left is potassium phosphate. This is inoculated with Pythium, and the agar medium that Pythium is being grown in the photograph on the left, is amended with potassium phosphate. In comparison, same setup, inoculated with Pythium. The agar medium in the petri dish, in this case, in picture B, has potassium phosphate. And so phosphate is a nutritional supplement, a phosphorus nutritional supplement, and has no fungicidal activity. Whereas potassium phosphate, photograph A on your left, is not a phosphorus nutritional supplement, but it does have fungicidal activity. So phosphates cannot be used for phosphorus nutrition, but they do provide disease suppression. Phosphates can be used for phosphorus nutrition supplementation, but do not have fungicidal activity. And so that there is a direct fungicidal component to potassium phosphates or Phyte. There is a direct fungicidal activity to tidal Phyte. But the second thing, there's also something else going on as well, and that is the natural production or the enhancement of plant defense compounds. So this is some trial work that was done, or some research that was done several years ago, actually looking at the natural production, or I guess the general production of defense-related phenolic compounds within a plant. So you think about, as human health, if we encounter some sort of a bug, we produce natural defense compounds within our body, which is known as our immune system, to fight off that bug or that pathogen. Well, plants do the same thing, and we can detect those by measuring the levels of those compounds whenever a plant is introduced to a pathogen. So in this case, after the application of tidal Phyte, we're looking at annual bluegrass on the top 3 bars here, and then we're looking at creeping bentgrass on the bottom 3 bars on the bottom of the screen. The blue, which is indicative of the control or no application. Phosphate, again, this is your phosphorus nutritional component here, the green bar. And then phosphite, which is representative of tidal Phyte, we have a significant increase with phosphite of the production of these defense-related phenolic compounds. So when we're looking at the effects on Pythium control, we're coming at it from 2 different ways with tidal Phyte. One is direct fungicidal activity with phosphite on the Pythium species, and second is the natural internal production of these defense-related phenolic compounds. So we have a nice 1-2 punch, if you will. So let's look at some actual research, some field research, some applied research as it's related to tidal Phyte. This is some trial work that was conducted by Dr. Bruce Clark at Rutgers University. Every year at his field day, or throughout the growing season really, he has an ongoing Pythium trial on perennial ryegrass. This turf is mowed roughly at lawn height, so you're looking at a 2 to 3 inch mowing height. And if you've ever been to a Rutgers field day, you know that it's always during the hottest period of the year, and where specifically where the Pythium trial is conducted is a very low-lying area. It's tucked up against trees, very low air movement. They run a large amount of water on the trial area, just in an effort to further make the growing environment conducive to Pythium development. And so, with tidal Phyte becoming a fungicide, looking at our rate range, if you look at the label, it goes from 2 to 6 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet as a recommended application rate. But we wanted to beef up our knowledge of, how does tidal Phyte perform at 1 fluid ounces, 2 fluid ounces, up to 6 fluid ounces? And then how does that compare to the current standards that are on the market today? And so when you look at the treatments, again, we have tidal Phyte at 1, 2, 4, or 6 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. We have comparisons in Segway, Subdue Max, Banol, and Signature Extra, all at their general standard application rates. Treatments were applied on a 14-day interval, and application volume was 4 gallons per 1,000 square feet. So let's look at the visual representation of the trial here. These photographs were taken on July 27th of 2021. This is at the Rutgers Field Day, and this is right after peak disease pressure subsided. And so here on the non-treated, the photograph all the way on the left, you can see that there's voids in the turf canopy. This is specifically from the Pythium pressure. But even at tidal Phyte at a low label rate, a below label rate, this is 1 ounces per 1,000 square feet. This is below what we recommend on the label. Our lowest rate on the label is 2 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. We were able to provide some disease suppression with only a 1 ounce per 1,000 square feet. Go up to 2 ounces, you have better disease suppression. Go up to 4 ounces, you have even better disease suppression. And then 6 ounces, we have the best level of disease suppression. So there is certainly a rate response associated with increasing rates of tidal Phyte. However, we were able to demonstrate that even at low application rates, there still is some benefit that can be gained. So let's look actually at the data itself. And what we're looking at here on the vertical axis is percent Pythium infestation per plot on the vertical axis from 0 to 70%, and then dates across the trial on the horizontal axis. But the one specific date that I want to point out is July 15th. July 15th was a date at which the non-treated, which is represented by the black line, has the highest level of disease pressure throughout the duration of the trial. At that point in time, numerically speaking, the best performing treatment of the trial, again, Pythium blight, for Pythium blight was Banol at 2 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. Not surprising, Banol is an excellent Pythium blight fungicide. But what's important to note is that, statistically speaking at least, that tidal Phyte at 6 fluid ounces per 1,000, which is represented by this dark blue line, is statistically similar to the Banol at 2 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. So at our high application rate, 6 fluid ounces per 1,000 of Tidal Phyte, we are performing as good as the best fungicide treatments, the best standard fungicide treatments that are on the market today. 4 fluid ounces, indicated by or represented by the light blue line, is also performing very well. Slightly less than what we're getting at 6 fluid ounces, but still a strong performer considering the amount of disease pressure in this specific trial. That was Pythium blight. We also wanted to take a look at Pythium root rot. So this is a trial that was conducted by Dr. Joe Roberts at Clemson University at his Florence Research Station. Called up Dr. Roberts last year and said, hey, Dr. Roberts, we're looking at, wanting to broaden some knowledge based on Pythium root rot control with Tidal Phyte. And he said, yeah, I got a little bit of pressure showing up. Why don't you send me what you got and we'll get it put out. Well, between that conversation and the time that we actually got on the product, this was the level of Pythium root rot that had occurred on the creeping bentgrass putting green. So Florence, South Carolina is a very hot, humid growing environment, not a great place to grow creeping bentgrass. So Pythium root rot is a chronic issue, and this is not atypical of the pressure that can be seen on bentgrass in that area. And so this quickly became a curative type of a trial rather than a preventative type of trial, which we would typically promote and prefer. And so this trial, we're looking at turf quality, Pythium root rot suppression. Treatments were Tidal Phyte at 4 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet, Signature Extra at 4 ounces per 1,000 square feet, and Tidal Phyte plus Activator plus SA, which is a proprietary adjuvant to Harrell's in combination with Tidal Phyte. So to give you a little bit more information about Activator plus SA, is that this is a non-ionic surfactant, a proprietary non-ionic surfactant with a component of salicylic acid that has been added to the formulation. We've been able to demonstrate through research that the addition of salicylic acid to the adjuvant helps with nutrient uptake and overall general plant health. And so we thought that that might be a nice complementary combination with Tidal Phyte with relatively low additional cost. Application rate is 1 pint per 100 gallons of carrier solution, or a 0.125% volume to volume. So let's look at the data from the Dr. Roberts trial. What we're looking at here in this trial is what we call area under disease progress curve. So we looked at the Pythium blight trial a few slides ago. We were looking over the course of multiple application dates. Well, area under the disease progress curve is a relatively simple calculation that we can do through statistics to summarize all of those rating dates into a single data slide. So over the course of the trial, treatments that perform well will have lower values, such as Tidal Phyte at 4 fluid ounces plus Activator plus SA, whereas treatments that do not perform as well, such as the non-treated, will have higher values on this area under disease progress curve. But in this specific case, we're looking at disease incident through the duration of the trial, and this NS here means that there's no statistically significant differences. And so, again, a curative scenario. This is not a scenario where we would typically recommend a Tidal Phyte or potassium phosphite. However, what was interesting is when you look at turf quality, same measurement or same plots, but looking at turf quality over the duration of the trial, we did have significant differences. And in fact, the best performing treatment in the trial relative to the non-treated check was Tidal Phyte at 4 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet in combination with Activator plus SA at 0.125% volume to volume. So not saying that Tidal Phyte should be a Pythium root rot tool that you rely on day in and day out. However, as a backbone to a Pythium program, something that can be applied on a 14-day interval to provide protection throughout the duration of the season, this is a good indication of the benefits that Tidal Phyte can provide. The last thing we'll talk about today and to wrap up is that there is a new player in the market in the Pythium space, Serato Fungicide. This is a new offering from FMC. Active ingredient is picarbutyrozox. What's really unique about this product is that it is a new mode of action. If you've been in the turf industry or around the turf industry for any number of years, you know that new modes of actions, whether it's fungicides or herbicides, etc., are hard to come by. And so anytime from a resistance management perspective, anytime that we can bring a new mode of action into the fold is an exciting opportunity. And so this case with Serato, we do have a new mode of action. U17 is a frat code. broad spectrum Pythium activity, but an excellent option for Pythium root rot control. And so what we're looking at here, this is a similar trial that was also conducted by Dr. Joe Roberts. Photographed Serato on the left at labeled application rates. This is a high label application rate, 0.8 ounces per 1,000 square feet on the left. Non-treated in the center, you see a high level of Pythium root rot pressure. And then finally, Serato plus tidal Phyte at 6 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. So we're looking at the high rate of Serato and the high rate of tidal Phyte. And the one thing that I want to point out specifically about this trial is that we have a good level of suppression with Serato. We have a good level of suppression with the combination of Serato plus tidal Phyte. But one thing we also know about tidal Phyte is that it can provide some suppression or control of algae in open turf areas or open turf voids. And so as a typical pattern, Pythium root rot will cause cause thinning of turf. And as that turf thins, algae typically likes to move into those thinned areas. So by adding tidal Phyte, we're not only controlling Pythium root rot, but we are also providing some level of control of algae, which will help that turf area recover more rapidly than if algae was present. So let's look at the trial data here. This is Serato by itself. We're looking at percent disease incidence on the vertical axis. First treatment here, Serato 0.08. We're looking at 3 rating dates, August 27th, September 9th, and September the 22nd. Compared to the non-treated all the way here on the right, we're providing a nice level of suppression, especially on September the 9th and September the 22nd. But the best performing treatment in the trial is a combination of Serato at 0.8 and 6 fluid ounces of tidal Phyte per 1,000 square feet. When you look at initial knockdown after the initial application, the only treatment, looking only here at the blue bars, this is on August 27th. This was about 14 days after the initial application. The only treatment to have statistically significantly less disease pressure after the initial application is Serato at 0.8 and tidal Phyte at 6 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. So Serato is an excellent Pythium root rot product by itself. You can see that it's proven by the data. However, it seems as though the combination of Serato plus tidal Phyte gives Serato even that additional recovery edge and knockdown edge against Pythium root rot, a very challenging disease to control this time of year. And we're just really getting into the battle with Pythium root rot for this growing season. So to wrap up what matters, tidal Phyte systemic fungicide can and should serve as the backbone for a Pythium prevention program, whether that's Pythium root rot, Pythium blight, etc. It's a material that can be applied every 14 days throughout the duration of the season. You're applying additional potassium fertility in addition to getting the disease suppression characteristics on your different Pythium species. It's a fully systemic fungicide, a high load of potassium phosphite in the formulation at 4.71 pounds of phosphorus acid per gallon. Again, phosphorus acid is the important component. That's your really true active component of potassium phosphite. So 4.71 pounds of phosphorus acid per gallon. And it's an EPA registered fungicide with the data to back up the claims that are made by the fungicide label. So that's it for this week. Hope you'll join us in a few weeks to learn more about what strategies are working around the country for golf course management.